Welcome. You're listening to the Keeping Ashland Healthy podcast, a podcast production of the Mental Health and Recovery Board of Ashland County, Ohio. Thanks for joining us. And welcome back to another episode of the Keeping Ashland Healthy podcast. In the studio with me today is Elizabeth Hoge. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. And again, you are the Assistant Athletic Director and Director of Academic Support at Ashland University.
That is correct.
I got that right. All right.
All right.
And, audience may know we are doing a series of different conversations with folks over at AU. A lot of them centered around student wellness, even academic and staff wellness. And before we came on air, I was talking to you a little bit. I just so excited when I found out about your role, your position there at the college. I didn't even know such a thing existed, but then somebody told me, I don't know if the stat's right, but is there close to 50 or so percent of the folks that attend AU are like student athletes?
Yeah, those that live on campus are over 50%.
Wow. Yeah, so there's that just blew me away, that for the folks that live on campus, that so many of them are student athletes. So I think if I understand things right, that what the colleges and universities try to do is support those athletes in a variety of different ways. And your position is directly related, and we're going to get into that hopefully, about how you directly support the student athletes on campus. But maybe before we do that, I always like folks to hear about whether we talked with Josh, some of the folks that were actually students at the university before they end up working there. So tell us a little bit first, maybe about just how you came to AU and what your path was there to this current position and role.
Yeah, well, I'm not an alumni, but I am from the area. So I've always lived in Medina, Ohio. So I'm right up 71.
Yeah, the square. I hate being south of the square. I hate it. Elizabeth, I can't. Why can't they do something? Sorry.
No, it's a very nice area. But my undergrad was at University of Akron, and my master's was at Miami of Ohio.
Yep.
And I always focused more on the residence life side and the student life side.
Yeah.
And then I went into academic advising.
Yeah.
And then my girls were getting they're still young, but they were getting a little bit older, and I just needed a change of pace, a new university to work at. So for my mental health, I was struggling with my boss at my previous position, and I'm like, I need a change of pace.
Yeah.
I am not an athlete. I'm a N.A.R.P, which is a non-athletic regular person, is what the lingo is.
I didn't know that. N.A.R.P.
That's a fun fact.
Non-athletic regular person, audience. N.A.R.P.
That's me. So I did not play any sports at all. I didn't really watch a lot of sports besides the Olympics. But I saw this job came up open at Ashland, and I'm like, well, it's looking for the skill sets that I have, like working with students, being an academic advisor, like all the things that I'm really good at. It's just in athletics. I feel I can figure it out if they will have me. So I applied. I was really surprised that I got the option to come in and interview, and it went really well. And it just turns out they weren't looking for someone that could do athletics. They were looking for someone that could be there for the students and understand them. And all this position just combined all the things that I really love working with students and seeing their development. So it worked out very well. So I've been here for 8 years.
8 years.
And it's gone in a flash. It's been so fast. And each year my job has been different. Each day my job has been different.
Wow.
New challenges always come, but it's something that I really value it because I think I get to be an advocate for the student and be a voice for them, and I just get to help them. And I love that.
Yeah. Essentially, as I was reading over your bio, and I always scrape the internet for everything I can find before my guests come in. Only legitimate sites, though, audience. That was my impression, Elizabeth. The student athletes are there, and we'll get to it in some of our canned questions. But there's so many challenges just of any student that's coming to the university for the first time, living on campus, and then. Having somebody that can walk beside them to help them manage both the athletics and the academics, and you to be flexible. It's not like you're forcing people into some kind of mold, right? You're really there to listen to their unique, sometimes maybe needs, whether that, I think I saw you help people with calendars. Maybe people, they just need they need to organize. They've never done that. But when you've got practice and you've got grades and classes and, if you don't have an organizational system, right, Elizabeth, they're not going to
make it.
Yes. So it can be something as simple but profound as that, but it can be a variety of things. And that's cool, right? You have the flexibility in your job to just tailor it to what they need.
Yep. Yeah.
So that would make every semester, every encounter potentially unique and different, which I think would make for a fun job.
It is, yeah. If they're a fall athlete, that's a different mentality than a spring athlete versus a winter athlete.
Why is that?
Because if you think of fall athlete, they're starting college for the first time. And they're starting classes, like they're at sport for the first time at a college level. So their practices are harder than what they were in high school.
Okay.
They're transitioning to college and living away from home, living with a roommate in a small area.
Right.
New food that they have to adjust to. And everything, their whole routine is new, and they're learning that all. Versus a spring athlete, they have a little bit more time to adjust to college life, and their practices aren't as intense right away. They build up to it. So your fall athletes really have it intense.
Wow.
So if you think about that mentality of like the shock system, that Band-Aid is just ripped off.
Yeah. Very interesting. That's a really cool insight.
Yeah.
Nobody but somebody like you would know that. That is really cool. Audience, take note. Elizabeth is giving you insights up.
Yeah.
So I couldn't help but notice when you were talking about your bio, and I saw it, your undergrad at University of Akron, where I also attended both my undergrad and graduate. And I always laugh because, our mascot. And they try really hard with the caricatures to make it seem frightening.
No, Zippy's just adorable and will always live in my heart as the cartoon of it, not the rabbit.
Yeah, so Zippy, if you don't know, is a kangaroo. And the
only female mascot.
Yes.
Girl power.
Is that true? So, and maybe that's why our football team hasn't won a game. But anyway, the Zippy mascot always cracks me up. It's like you can't really make Zippy.
No.
Tough or mean, and why would you want to?
No, it's terrible.
Well, let me ask some of my standard questions because I came up with these. I thought these were important. So you work closely with the student athletes, right? Mm-hmm. So individually and maybe sometimes in groups or in teams. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then my audience, obviously, I work for the Mental Health and Recovery Board. They are interested in mental and emotional wellness primarily, and I have to imagine you started to touch on it with the fall and the spring, but there's a lot of things going on. So maybe how does your support for their mental and emotional wellness look like? Understanding that's going to be different, but maybe speak in some generalities if you can.
One thing we have initiated is that every fall I meet with every first-year student, regardless of sport. And luckily, the past 2 years, I have an academic success coach that works with me, Dewan Seward. He's also an assistant track coach, but we've been able to add his position. So between the two of us, we meet with all of our freshmen, which can sometimes be 250 students, but we get them all in. And the point of that is to establish a base contact with the student athletes so that they know we're not their coach. We're not their teacher. We're not their professor. We are their support person. We are their resource. And just to kind of learn who they are as a person, why they came here, why they love their sport, why they're here, what inspires them, figure out what also their challenges are going to be. So that's when we talk about, have you ever kept a calendar before? Do you know how to check your email? And kind of get them to understand that. And then we run study tables for most of our freshmen. And we do bring in different speakers as well at those study tables the first couple of weeks because we know that first 6 weeks is tough regardless if you're an athlete or not. You're just a lot of adjustments are going on. So I really value these meetings because now I know these students and now they know who I am. And I meet with every team at the start of the semester as well so they see my face. I try and get my face out there as much as I can. So they know, if I'm struggling, if I'm having an issue with a coach, if I'm having an issue with class, or I just need someone to talk to because I am losing my mind.
Right.
Come get me.
Yeah.
And my door's open. You come in. We'll talk through things. Sometimes they just miss a parent, and I'm a mother myself, so I'm very motherly. But they just need to talk things through.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So meeting with everybody, having that baseline, and again, unique pressures. I put this question in here because I can't imagine. I was not when I went through Akron. I worked full time and I had a double major. So my pressures were primarily, some at work for sure, but also just more the academics. I can't even imagine what it would have been like to be at a top level or try to be at a top level in athletics in addition to. So I have to imagine there are some real challenges in balancing. Of course, I think AU, I've talked with enough staff and faculty at AU to know that they want the students to be academically successful. They want them to have a career. Hopefully the athletics, are enriching and they're fulfilling, and maybe they go on beyond that. But the reality is they really value the academics. So, yeah, how do you help them balance all those unique pressures? And yeah, what happens when things come up where maybe they were really good in high school, but guess what? They are now not the number, top alpha, or maybe they get an injury. And so just talk about some of those unique stressors and how you help them walk through that. Maybe some, without names, maybe even some of the unique stressors you've encountered in your 8 years that you've been able to help them negotiate. Because I have to imagine there's got to be plenty.
Yeah. There's some days where I'm like, oh, I really went through a lot today. Just like identifying with students all day and just being that support person for them. I would say like overall, our student athletes average GPA is a 3.41. So our student athletes achieve very well. But there's also a lot of students that do not have that 3.41. So at the beginning of the semester, DeJuan and we sat down with each coaching staff and figure out what students are going to be concerned that you're most either returning or a freshman that are going to need extra support. And then we set up meetings every other week with those students, checking in, how's your homework? Let's look at your grades, and just try and make sure that they're aware of everything and paying attention to it and giving them that support. So like I think that's been very helpful when we have those like regular meetings, because then they know someone cares about them and is holding them accountable like outside of their coach. Also, a lot of our coaches now implement academic meetings with their student athletes. So they're like, a lot of people are concerned about their academics, so they're checking in on them on a regular basis. I think I've seen a lot of growth in that the past 8 years with coaches like having more of those academic meetings set aside and then requiring the student athletes to come and see us as well. So like the more people that are asking and talking with the students, I think the better it's not going to be hidden.
Yeah. It's going to be apparent. Okay.
Yeah. But there are a lot of students that they were very smart in high school and they're still smart now, but they never had to study. And so, or they had study halls during the day.
Right.
So whenever I meet with the football team, my comment is always don't let a nap ruin your GPA.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I have time. I have 12 to 2 open every day before practice. I'm just going to nap. And then they don't get their homework done because they're tired after practice.
Right.
And then so the amount of time I talk about don't take naps to student athletes is probably pretty crazy.
But they're tired a little bit.
They're tired. I'm like, well, then stop going to bed so late because you had to stay up and do your homework. So sometimes you just have to a
good sleep-wake cycle that makes some sense.
And just talking about sleep, talking about wind down activities for them. Like, don't be on TikTok on your phone until 11 o'clock at night and then go to bed because you're not going to sleep well.
Yep.
Like, do yoga, do meditation, do something like that's a quiet activity that will help shut your brain down so that you can sleep.
So you can sleep
well.
Yep.
And then sometimes with injuries, that's tough.
Yep.
Because maybe they've never not played before and they struggle with that. So it's like, what are other ways that we can get them involved?
Okay.
And I think a lot of our coaches are also good about keeping those student athletes involved. Like, well, maybe you can still help take video or help,
it's like a family, right? I mean, they become family and they're close and they don't want to kind of separate them from that. So, I think that's a good idea to keep them connected somehow.
Because you have to keep them connected so they still feel valued and whatnot. It doesn't work 100% all the time, but I think we have a lot of good structure within the teams and as well as student athlete leadership on each team.
Yeah. And again, you don't have to, no names ever, but when I do the QPR training, the question, persuade, refer, our suicide prevention training over at the college, one of the things I always point out is there's a lot of new things that the student athletes are encountering at college, being away from home for the first time, as you said, getting adjusted to just different academic expectations, et cetera, but relationships. For a lot of young people, it's their first serious relationship, which presents issues. But then oftentimes it's their first serious breakup, which creates situations. Yeah. So is that a part of something that you help them negotiate or manage?
Oh, yeah. I've had all types of conversations. You always have the people that still have a high school boyfriend or girlfriend. Yeah. And they're like, wait a second, my maturity level just jumped a bunch because I'm in college and busy now and I'm still dating this senior. And it's just different. So then usually around weeks 3 to 6, you'll start seeing those breakups or we started dating at orientation.
Right.
And now we realize this isn't going to work. Yeah. So then so it's you always...
The orientation relationship. I like that. Get together at orientation.
But when I first started in higher ed, I was at College at Worcester in residence life, and even before that at Miami of Ohio, I always worked with freshmen. So I just understand the freshman cycle pretty well of the breakups and then the rebounds.
Right.
But that's just, they, instead of seeking validation in just themselves, they need to find it in somebody else. And it's like, girl, you just need to focus on like yourself.
Yeah.
You don't need to be attached to another person. Like you can just.
Yeah.
And sometimes they just need somebody to like say that to them. Like, it's okay.
Well, because they're not going to probably get it in the mainstream media or culture. Which they're probably going to get the wrong messages, Elizabeth. So I'm glad that you're the voice of reason and sanity. You can be the campus mom and say, don't look outside of yourself for some of those things, because that's really a losing proposition. So that's an important message, I think.
Yeah. You have to be one with yourself, right? In order to do well academically, do well athletically. Like if you're so worried about everybody else's thoughts or relationships, then you're not going to be focused on what you need to do in order to be at the elite level you want to be at.
And again, I hope, audience, you don't hear this as minimizing. These relationship challenges are a real thing. We track every overdose death and suicide death in Ashland County every year. There's a real formal process that we go through. And I can tell you, Elizabeth, particularly with the suicides, relationships are almost always either the immediate or a secondary reason why things have gotten to that point. So this is not, I don't want my laughter to come off as trivial. It's just that I understand it's very common, and most of it is overcomable for most people and adults. But, sometimes you can't laugh at some of the situations that folks have, but it is serious. And I'm glad they have you to be another source of support, but also, as we often say in the counseling, it's nice to have that objective outside person who's not in it, who can speak into it in a different way than the people that are in it, and they just can't see it.
Yeah, so I'm not a teammate, I'm not a coach, but I don't know if this is related to the question, but I was just thinking about some of like the little triggers that affect some of the mental health. I feel is like if athletes these days, if they're like left unread by a teammate or a coach, that like hurts their feelings, and they internalize that. Like, well, why didn't they read my text? Why didn't they respond to my text?
Yeah.
They must not like me. Maybe I didn't perform well at practice the other day, or like maybe I'm not going to get like. I'm like, they just didn't respond to the text. They probably read it on their phone or on their watch and just didn't. Like that's not the end of the. You should not be that hung up on that.
Don't spiral.
But like they spiral on an unread text, or if there's a group chat that they're not included in, but they find out exists, like that.
Why was I part of that?
That will really play a lot of mind games with them.
Yeah.
And it's like all these little things that like they pick up on. I'm like, whoa, like I just would never have identified an unread text as like a reason for a mental breakdown, but like it causes it.
Yeah.
And like you have to like, okay, let's objectively look at this. They didn't respond. Maybe you just need to have a conversation with your coach about like, this is how I feel when I'm left unread.
Well, I think that's important. This is how I feel statement. That's important because, they don't know until you share that. And, I've had that over my career is, we all make assumptions about, communication styles, et cetera, whether it's text or anything, emails. And if somebody has a different expectation or different, hope, and you don't know that, so it's best to share that and say, one of the things, I have this expectation, and then we can work with it. Then if I know, okay, that's your expectation, I may not be able to do that. So at least then I can share that way. So well, I can't respond immediately, but I do start responding to texts and emails at, 8 o'clock in the morning. So, blah, blah, blah. So, but that's good. Empower them not to spiral, but to not leave it unsaid. I think that's important, Elizabeth, because if it's festering and bothered them, explore that a little bit.
It's just going to keep burning.
Yeah. Good. I like that. So trends and emerging patterns. 8 years, I'm sure you've noticed some trends or patterns, things over the student athlete mental health, either positive or concerning for you. What we were starting to dip into that with some of the social media a little bit. But what are some of the trends and patterns you've seen over your 8 years, maybe that are challenges to mental health of the student athletes over that time?
I'd like to hope that student athletes are getting better about advocating for themselves.
Ooh.
And like requesting to see counseling. Like counseling is free on campus, which is amazing.
Yep.
So, when we encourage student athletes to go, coaches are one of the top referral agents for counseling on campus because they're like, oh, this person, like, I know that blah, blah, blah is
right. They know when they're not
today.
Yes,
and like, I see them every day and something's off.
That's right.
So I think that access is great for that. I think student athletes are better about advocating for that. Mm-hmm. I think the connotation of going to counseling is
the stigma maybe behind
the stigma,
that.
Yeah, that's a better word. Good job. Way to do your job.
I'm a paid professional.
You're a paid professional. But I think, I think the stigma is slowly going around that. I think, there's issues in representation. I think like there needs to be more like female counseling. I think more counselors of color would be like helpful because people want more representation when they're struggling.
I want to talk with somebody who looks like me, maybe is from a similar background. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I see some movement in that would be like a positive thing. Online counseling, I think more students are starting to like do some more of the like better talk, or I'm blanking on the word on that one. Where is that? I don't know what the right word is for that one. But so I think that's a positive. What we're trying to also figure out is what's the difference between I need like a therapist, I need a counselor, or I need a sports psychologist. Like a golfer, for example. Exactly. They're like, I'm struggling with my swing. Is that a counselor, a swing coach, or a sports psychologist to help them with their like mind game? Because a lot of students like, I think I need to go see a therapist. I'm like, well, maybe it might also just be that you have anxiety around like playing your sport, which is more of a sports psychologist.
Right.
And there's not a lot of sports psychologists.
That's right.
Like around. Larger athletic programs do have sports psychologists on staff. Yeah. We don't. I'm probably the closest to a sports psychologist or the athletic trainer, or like Hunter is really great because he's a former athlete as well. But like I think students, they really need more of that help. So identifying like, what's the difference? Like what path do you actually need? That's
a very interesting distinction, but you're absolutely right. And I think I just saw something on social media. I had no idea the girls' AU golf team is like really good.
Yeah, they're doing great.
I saw a post on that. But golfers are a wonderful example because they're so in their heads all the time. And you can, as a horrible golfer myself, I can tell you once you start going negative with your thinking, it does affect the rest of your round.
It does.
You need some ways to kind of, bad shot, but on to the, that way to move forward. So those positive thoughts are critical for some of those sports for sure.
Yeah. So I think that's a trend that I've noticed with that
one,
I suppose.
Good. Those are good trends. Thank you for noticing that stuff. Yeah. And I noted culture peer support. You started to dip in this as well. You help develop programs like mentorship initiatives and mental health focused events. So how important maybe is this team culture and peer support in shaping student athlete well-being, you think?
I think it's the more they can get out there that people care about them and want to help them. We started Mental Health Week 5 years ago, I think. And now this past year it's grown even. We work more with the wellness team. Yep. A lot of the wellness team were actually student athletes as well. So like it's the
so
student
Sarah
athletes.
Was doing it, and now Sammy's doing it. I think she's with volleyball.
And they're doing great. We have Morgan's Message on campus, and they are. The past 2 years we've had dedication games for all of our sports if we're able to. And you see people wearing those around campus, like those the stickers and the bracelets, and talking about it. So I think just like keeping the story out there is important. I'll send emails like randomly to students. Like I don't know, there's some TikTok trend like last year where people were like, I thought I'd go to college and I would love it, but now I hate it. And it's like this like trend that was just going on TikTok. So I sent an email out to everybody. I said, hey, the mom in me is just worried about all 800 of you, and I keep seeing this TikTok trend. So the world's speaking to me. If you are feeling this way, like, please come and see me. Like, I am here for you. And students actually responded back, like, thank you. Like, I will come and see you. And I had like 3 people come in. Or I'll send like if a lot of professional athletes are slowly talking more about mental health now, but it's a really slow road, especially for male professional athletes. Yep. So if I'll see an article or whatnot, I'll send it out. And I'm like, hopefully this, like a little trigger warning sometimes. But like, please read this story and like, know, like if you are in a similar situation, like here's some counseling resources that we have on campus or that are local to the community.
Absolutely.
And just kind of pushing that out. And like, usually I'll get a 1 or 2 response, like, thank you for sending this. I needed to read this today.
Yeah.
So I think we just need to keep pushing that. Like, not everybody is healthy all the time.
Right. No. And it would be unusual days. If you were. In fact, I would really worry.
We would struggle with that one. So I think like it's important to not hide mental health.
Yeah.
And to like
love it.
Talk about it.
Yeah. And I love the way you're using peers. And I'll give you one example I've noticed. So I do that QPR training, and oftentimes it'll be 2 counselors. I'm a counselor or a social worker pairing with me, and the students are being attentive and this, that. But then I think it was Sarah's idea, Watson, when she was in charge of the wellness, the lead. And she's like, can I do it with you, or at least part of the QPR training, because she was trained as well. And I said, yeah, let's try that. And then when she did it, I just noticed the difference. I was really paying attention to the students' faces. Boy, it made a lot of a difference when they saw her as a student athlete talking her story, et cetera. So we've continued that. And whenever Sammy's available now, or whoever else, but peers, that matters a lot. When they're up there, they're sharing their story a little bit, or even if they're just doing part of the training, just the delivery, students knowing that it's coming from a peer matters. Yeah. Well, we're getting towards the end. Again, talking with Elizabeth Hoge, Assistant Athletic Director and Director of Academic Support at Ashland University. And I always like to end with something practical. So practical advice for community, parents, coaches, community members that might be listening. All of them will be, Elizabeth. What are some simple but powerful ways we can better support young people, especially athletes, in their mental and emotional health? Anything.
Listen. You got to listen to them.
I'm
a mother of 3 daughters, all pretty much, 16, 14, and 12.
Okay.
All in sports. Variety.
You weren't an athlete, but all 3 of them are. Okay.
Let me tell you the sports schedules I have to manage. But I see the same stuff that's happening at the college level with student athletes with their struggles with mental health with my daughters.
Oh.
So it starts young with that anxiety to perform, to please, to be the best. Having issues with teammates, being mad at a coach, not being able to communicate, not being able to show leadership. And I see it in my girls' 12U teams and high school teams and rec teams and travel teams. And I'm like, that stuff, it just festers and continues in college because they don't know how to properly deal with it. But if you listen to them when they're younger and help give them some coping strategies and here's what you should here's what you can maybe do to talk with your teammates, or here's some different suggestions that you can do to maybe bring up to your coach, because not all coaches are trained in how to deal with youth groups and programs, and they just ride things off well, just be better, or they won't give them any coping strategies or advice.
Yeah.
But you have to let the child themselves advocate for it. You can't come in as a parent and be like, well, how come you moved her to the outfield? Why would you do that? Because that's not teaching my daughter anything.
Right.
But instead, I can talk to her hey, why don't you try and see if you can talk to the coach after practice one time and ask about what you could do better, and that tell them that you want to do more.
So you're helping give her the skills and the tools to advocate on her own behalf.
Yeah, because then that's going to help her if she plays in college.
Yeah. Because if you start arguing with the coach, that'll be on TikTok. I guarantee it.
And it's embarrassing. And what does the student learn? So when they go to college and they're having an issue with the coach,
call my mom.
They want, And I'm like, I never want to deal with a parent over mad about stuff.
I agree.
So you have to really kind of teach it. And
That's good.
When I have my sports mom hat on when I'm with my children and I watch some of these other parents, I'm like, you are not.
Have you ever talked to another parent?
I have to set away.
Yeah.
I can't set with other parents.
That would be tough, because when sometimes I know parents try to approach other parents that are maybe losing a little bit, say, listen, even that can get different. I've seen parents go at it in the stands.
And I don't need that in my life. So I just always set aside and I watch it unfold, and I'll watch some of the toxic teammate stuff. I mean, that's a whole nother topic on toxic teammates, but I see it happen. And if a toxic teammate can get away with that kind of behavior because they're a good athlete and a high school team, that girl is still going to be doing that same behavior in college.
Interesting.
And then it's going to be probably a rougher road for her, because hopefully the college coach is we don't do diva here.
That. Yeah.
So,
we don't do diva.
Yeah. But you just, I see it, and I have to tell my daughters, listen, at some point they're going to get their comeuppance, but you can't, you just have to be.
That's a really old fashioned word. I cannot believe you're using comeuppance, Elizabeth. You are way too young for that.
No, I'm old.
Okay.
But I think it's helped. I'm trying to hopefully show my daughters how to be good athletes.
Yeah.
And they luck out as they've grown up around Ashland student athletes.
Yeah.
So they've grown up around Sarah Watson. My daughters love Sarah Watson.
Yeah.
They've grown up around elite student athletes. So when they're having a rough day, I'll be like, what would Sarah do right now?
Yeah.
She didn't get a lot of reps as goalie sometimes.
Yeah.
But what was she? She was always there for her team.
That's right.
She always cheered them on.
Yep. I noticed that.
So you need to remember that. And she's like, I know. I need to be more like Sarah. I'm like, yeah. But you've seen it. And she was such a good teammate and a great person and amazing. So it's not all about how much time you played. It's about who you were to the team and how you contributed. Yeah. So we have to, hopefully show our children a whole picture.
Yep. And I hope, audience, you heard that. Start with the listening. Obviously you have to foster a relationship with the individual so that they feel comfortable talking with you. But then, as Elizabeth said, foster within the school the tools and the abilities to be a good advocate for themselves, whether that's with their coaches, teammates, whomever. So, Elizabeth, that was great stuff. I appreciate you taking some time out.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Keeping Ashland Healthy podcast. The podcast is a production of the Mental Health and Recovery Board of Ashland County, Ohio. You can reach the board by calling 419-281-3139. Please remember that the board funds a local 24/7 crisis line through Appleseed Community Mental Health Center. It can be reached by calling 419-289-6111. That's 419-289-6111. Until next time, please join us in Keeping Ashland Healthy.